Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is your host, Dr. FM, on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. This is today's Africa, and I am your host. And we know that we are broadcasting live in over 100 different countries around the world. And this is something that really excites us when we think about the impact and the influence that we're bringing, not just in Africa, but around the world. And to have over 100 different countries, people watching, it is so refreshing. And of course, if you have not yet subscribed, please do that. We ask you to subscribe and to like it so that you can share this channel to other people in your networks as well. We are live on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and of course on the StreamYard. And so, again, this is your host, Dr. Francis Mpindu Munangi, and we're delighted that you have joined us today. Today is a very, very special day. We have a special guest that we have been wanting to have on this um, podcast for quite a while, but because she has a very, very busy schedule. It has not been easy for us to get her. So today I'm just like, yay! I am so delighted that we have in the studio today Justice Tujilane Rose Chizumila. And in a moment, I'm going to have her tell us a little more about herself. And she's going to be telling us her story. But this, I, I don't know how she feels about me saying this on live radio globally. She is a powerful woman who is part of a team that serves on the continent of Africa, entrusted by different African states to have what they call the African Court, which is based in Arusha in Tanzania. And so we are really in, and I'm hoping that having spoken to Justice Chizumila, she will be able to sell this idea to part of her team so that in future they can also be part of our conversation. This is a powerful team that's been put together by different African states on the continent of Africa. So we're really, really delighted. She has a bachelor's degree in law from the University of Dar es Salaam, and she has a master's in international law from Germany. Now, I also learned that she speaks four different languages. She speaks English, of course, we're speaking English, so we say good morning. And I heard that she also speaks German, which is Guten Morgen, but it's not Guten Morgen in Africa, it's actually early evening. So, but she also speaks Chichewa from Malawi. So, in the mornings, they say Madzuka Bwanji. But she also speaks Kiswahili, which is spoken in East Africa. And of course, in Kiswahili, they say Habari za asubuhi, but it's not morning over there. It is evening. So I'm really delighted, Justice Chizumila, to have you with us today. And um, so, what comes to mind to help us understand who you are? I know, Justice Chizumila, we're going to be diving into your journey from a refugee girl, an African little girl, born and raised for a little while in Malawi, and then you end up in Tanzania, and you go back to Malawi, and then now you're back in Tanzania in this big office. What a powerful journey it is. So, my brothers and sisters, as some of my brothers and sisters say. By the way, I picked up a little bit of Cantonese. Cantonese, the Chinese version of Chinese language, but Cantonese is spoken in Hong Kong. And so I worked a lot within that group when I was in Canada, in Toronto. And so they say Daheng Zimui, which basically means wenzangu in Kiswahili. So this is brothers and sisters coming together to have a journey, to listen to our beloved Justice Chizumila tell us her story. So, Justice Chizumila, I know I am waiting to hear your story. So tell us just briefly If we are to just remember something about you after this show today, what would you like us to think about when we hear the name Justice Tujilane Rose Chizumila?
Thank you so much, Dr. FM. First of all, it's such a great honor to be invited to speak to you and to your studio and to the whole world. Such a great, great honor and a big privilege to me. Secondly, I thank you for your patience. You've been pestering me, or should I rather say, for my patience. Anyway, you've been so good and patient, waiting for this day. And here I am finally. Thirdly, before I respond to your question, is to mention that I believe that my fellow judges of the African court, we are 11, would be very, very happy to have you talk to them at some point in the future. So that's something that you could organize with the court. You contact our registrar and find out how that could be organized. Now, coming to your question, I think I would put it this way, that when you see me today at the age of 72, being a judge
By the way, you
of
don't
the,
look 72.
oh, thank you very much. I'm grateful for the compliment. Yeah, so being a judge on the highest court of the continent of Africa, which is known as the African Court on Human and People's Rights, and it is based in Arusha, Tanzania. Remember that I once was a little girl who became a refugee through my father, who was a politician at the age of 12. So I was 12 when I became a child refugee. And the first shock was queuing up for food. We were receiving maize meal, we were receiving beans to cook, the usual. And we were very privileged. We were a very privileged group of refugees that time in Tanzania because we were put in flats at Keko, the very first flats built in Keko in Tanzania, for those who know where this place is. That's where refugees from almost all the countries of Southern Africa were being kept. So you can imagine we had flown in from New York, where my father was the counselor at the UN representing Malawi, and overnight we are queuing up for food. We were sleeping on mats. So coming from that background to what I have become today, it's a journey that I'm always proud of sharing with everyone, and especially the refugee child of today, that they should have hope. They should not lose, hope. There is so much that can happen and so much that can be done in their lives. Thank you, Dr. FM.
Oh, Justice Chizumila, what a powerful story. I mean, someone said that humility is a very difficult thing to say about yourself, but other people can say it about you. And someone also said that humility is very dicey because you can be very proud in your humility. But I don't sense that in you. You are a very humble person, and I really mean that. Uh,
Thank you.
and you don't have to pay me for that. You are a very humble person. You are a very humble person, and you exude this power within you. I mean, you are a judge. I was looking up some of the things that you have done. You were an ambassador, or was it high commission? I can't remember the relationship between Zimbabwe and Malawi now, but you represented Malawi in Zimbabwe for quite some time. And I also see that you served in different capacities, working with different organizations before you rose to this position. You were instrumental in actually becoming uh, an ombudsman in Malawi, the first woman to establish a law firm in Malawi. And you were instrumental in changing the laws in Malawi as far as a husband dying and families coming to take property from you. And you have had quite a journey, and I really mean this, Justice Chizumila. You are an icon, and I like to believe that even with this recording, which is going to be an archive for many years to come after you and I are long gone, I hope and pray that little girls would be inspired, even the ones who are in refugee camps now. I am aware that we have refugees on the border of Uganda and Tanzania and Kenya and all these other different countries in northern part of Africa. There's all kinds of things happening. And I really pray and hope that what is happening today, you joining us as a guest, is going to inspire not just the girl child, but anybody to say that it's not the end of the world when life gives you different circumstances. So you are a real inspiration, and I really mean that. So thank you for giving us just a snippet, a summary of your life, and we will definitely be going into that. Now, I can imagine from a life of stability, and now you're lining up for food, and you've been reduced to this, and you're saying, okay, this is not of my own making. My father, who is in politics, we've now moved from a comfortable life, and here we are. So, what were some of the thoughts you were going through, having been reduced now to a refugee from a life that was established, comfortable, a big house, enjoying life? You would eat whatever you wanted from the refrigerator, open the cupboard and take food, and now you're lining up for food. How did that what did that do to you?
First of all, thank you so much for all the compliments and the highlights you have mentioned about my background. I'm grateful for that. Hey, I will say a lot was going on through my mind. First of all, I was the firstborn child. And then I had two younger siblings after me. The third one was born much later in Tanzania, but I had two brothers younger than me. Now, this is the time I noticed that my father, he used to be tall, big, huge. We used to call him the rhino. He was that huge. He lost weight overnight. And when I say overnight, I mean in less than a month, he lost so much weight. My mother was just crying, and we were asking questions. Why are we here? Why should we queue up for food? And they could not give us those answers. Now, as a firstborn, I had to take care of my brothers. I'm the one who had to say, you know what, let's keep quiet. Dad and mom are having some issues. I could not understand what it was all about. But I recall the one thing that came into my mind, And I always asked my parents, why don't we just go back home? Why are we here? Let's go back home. I mean, I had such a wonderful time back home. I left Malawi when I was busy with my uncles. I grew up with my uncles at my mother's village for several years when my father was busy pursuing his degree course in Zimbabwe, then Salisbury, and later South Africa. So I used to be a happy-go-lucky girl. So I couldn't understand. We had a big house at Chileka, my mother's home, near Blantyre. We had a big house in Zomba, my father's place. My grandparents were there. So why not just go home and enjoy ourselves? But it was not to be. So that is really what used to pain me. But what was worse is that we were told from now onwards, no more writing letters back home. You have to cut off. Otherwise, all our relatives are going to be killed by that regime in those days. So that was the most painful thing. You can imagine overnight, you are so young. I used to have, in those days, we had pen pals, I had my cousins, I had a young boyfriend, and all that had to be cut off. My beloved grandparents, I could no longer communicate with them until much, much later when I went back home after almost 30 years. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Justice Chizumila, the way you are describing things, it really paints a better picture for me, and I like to believe it's the same for our viewers and listeners today, that refugees go through some changes that are really, really painful, and oftentimes we don't even think about it. And I'm seeing Francis Muzumara here, who is following us from
Oh,
Malawi. Thank you for joining us,
nice,
Mr.
nice.
Francis Zikomo Kwambiri. And, we are not aware of the pain that refugees go through. And even today, I can only imagine a person like yourself with a lived experience like that, how when you see people ending up in refugee camps, what goes through your mind, and what what needs to happen. And I know that, by the way, I need to say this to our viewers and our listeners this morning. For those of you who just joined us, this is Today's Africa on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio with your host, Dr. FM, Francis Munangi Mpindu. Our studios are actually based in Toronto, in Canada, and I am in the studio on the other side, broadcasting from the US. And our guest today is actually in Tanzania. So this is amazing how the global technology is just helping us to come together. And I also see that we have Rhoda Mkumbra, who is also following us from Malawi. Ziko Mukwambiri Asisi, for joining us today. By the way, growing up in Zimbabwe, we had some Malawi neighbors, so I picked up a little bit of Chichewa words here and there. So every now and again, I would show off. And I remember we used to even sing some songs, Tirarendo ife pa dziko lino tipita kwatu kumwamba uku. And we would sing along and dance around and so forth. Indeed, we are sojourners. Tirarendo ife pa dziko lino, we are
Yeah,
sojourners. We don't
true,
belong here
true,
forever. So this is really,
true.
really wonderful to have you with us. So tell us now. Maybe you could even join this, but let's start by you explaining to us what is the African Court on human and people's rights. What is it? I actually discovered that not many of us, even myself, we are not really familiar with this. So I'm just excited that we actually have someone who is part of the 11 judges appointed by different African states who is able to help us. So we really want to have an education today to understand the African court, but also really your journey as far as this connection is concerned. So what is the African court on human and people's rights?
Thank you, Dr. FM. Let me swap the response. I will start with my journey to the African court and
That's
then
even
tell
better.
you
I like
what
that.
the African court is about. Yes. So as you mentioned, in Malawi, I was appointed then as ambassador to Zimbabwe and SADC. So I was covering all the Southern African countries. And after that, I was appointed judge of the High Court of Malawi. I was based in Blantyre. After that, as you rightly said, I became the first female ombudsman of Malawi. And I'm proud, very proud to mention that after me, the following two ombudsmen are both females. So the current one, after me, there was a female ombudsman. Now the current one is also a female ombudsman. So I must have done a very good job that time. I'm so proud of myself. But having said that, that's when I saw this advert in the newspapers. I had then retired from government, and I'm reading the day's paper, and I find this advert, and the headline was that day in a couple of hours. Fortunately, I always move around with my laptop wherever I go. So I was in my cousin's car. So I quickly typed in my application, sent everything, submitted, and I was fortunate enough to be picked for the interviews. And I was really blessed to be elected by the Assembly of the Heads of States of Africa, which is such a great, great honor. Now, in the year I was appointed, that was 2017, we were two female judges appointed. The other one is a sister of mine from Algeria. And that year, the AU had a deliberate policy of gender parity. So it happened like this. The African Union has 5 regions. There is the Southern Africa region, Eastern Africa, Central, let me mention the name. Central Africa is the third one, West Africa, and then Northern Africa. So a female and a male judge are appointed from each one of these regions, making it 10 judges. I am the female judge from Southern Africa. The male judge from Southern Africa comes from South Africa. Then we have a female judge for East Africa from Tanzania. The male judge is from Uganda. The female judge from Central Africa is from Cameroon. The male one is from Congo Brazzaville. The female one for West Africa is from Nigeria. The male one is from Ghana. And then we have a female one from Algeria, and the male one is from Tunisia. Then there's always a floating judge who is the 11th one. This one can be elected from any country, any state from the continent. So currently we have Mali, He is one of the 11 judges. Now, the Afrikan Court was established by the heads of states through the charter, the Banjul Charter, and we have the protocol that guides and directs the Afrikan Court. Now, the jurisdiction of the Afrikan Court is to receive all cases from the continent and disputes submitted to it, but these must be on human rights. Remember, the name of the court is the Afrikan Court on Human Rights and People's Rights. So the cases must be on these two issues, human rights and people's rights. And of course, also to interpret the application of the Banjul Charter, of the protocol, and any other applicable human rights instruments. In addition to that, the court works very closely with the African Human Rights Commission, which is based in Banjul. So the relationship between the two, the court and the commission, is complementary. The Afrikan Court was established to complement the protective mandate of the commission. Okay. So we also work very closely with the Committee of the Rights and Welfare of the Child. Having said that, let me just briefly share on the 11 judges of the court. Once we are elected, we join the court, we take an oath, and then every 2 years, we vote for who is going to be our president and who will be our vice president for 2 years. So every 2 years, we have that election, and the mandate of the two is renewable only once, which reminds me that once you are elected as a judge, you are elected for 6 years. So after that 6 years, you can be re-elected if you are lucky enough. I was very fortunate to be re-elected. So I'm now in my second and final term. You cannot go beyond the 2 terms. So we serve for a total of 12 years if you are re-elected. This is my 8th year, going to my 9th year. So I'm now looking at retirement and going back home to rest at my village. So briefly, that is my background of how I got to the Afrikan Court and what the Afrikan Court does.
That is very, very powerful and relevant information, Justice Chizumila. We are delighted to have you with us today, and the information you have shared with us, it's something that I wasn't even aware of. And so I can assure you that our viewers and our listeners are delighted to have this information. Now, I know that given the office, the mandate, the vision, responsibilities that you have, you would be dealing with cases and information of high sensitive nature. And of course, you being a judge, you know what that means. You and your teams, you protect this like this is your life, and it is. And so I can only imagine the kinds of things that you go through and process, and you have to keep it within yourself, and you have to keep it within the team, and making sure that we do that. By the way, to our viewers and to you as well, Justice Chizumila, our program is apolitical. We don't talk about politics. We don't criticize anybody. We are here to learn, to understand what's going on so that we can be supportive. Now, I am wondering, I do have something that I wanted to have you go into. But having said that, would you be kind enough, just general overview, what types of cases, what types of things would you be handling at this level as the African court? And of course, you know, we're not interested in the details, but just what type? Because I'm sure there could be lots of requests and applications to process things that come. So, what do you end up processing? If you don't mind just giving us an idea of some of the things that, or rather, the types of uh, things that you handle at this level, which is really a very, very high level.
You are right. You are very right, Dr. FM, that we do handle quite a very wide variety of applications. And mind you, I should mention that for the applications to reach us, the individual or NGO that has got a matter has to come from a country that has submitted its declaration to allow its citizens and NGOs to bring their cases directly to us. If there is no such declaration, then the citizens and the NGOs must submit their applications through the Human Rights Commission in Banjul, known as the Banjul Commission. After it does its investigations and it realizes that that matter has to come before the court, then it is the Banjul Commission that will submit that case to us on behalf of the applicant. So there are those two methods of submitting applications to this court. And coming to the question of the number of matters or the types of matters that we receive, as I mentioned, we are a human rights and people's court. Human rights, you very well know, is very wide. It has got a very wide definition. One can say everything under the sun is a human rights issue. So we do receive quite a big number of applications from prisoners who feel that their rights were abused during the hearing of their case by not being given legal aid. That's one example. We do get applications from NGOs supporting women issues like early marriages for the girl child. We do receive issues of citizenship rights. We do receive, the list is quite long. I can go on and on. Wrongful arrests, and we do receive matters on elections. So anything that an applicant feels is a matter of human rights comes to us. But what the court does, it has to sieve. We go through our protocol. We look at our mandate. Are we able to take up this matter or not? Do we have the right to do so? Do we have the jurisdiction? Is this matter admissible or not? So that's why we meet in Arusha 4 times in a year. We meet once in every quarter. So every 3 months we meet once for 30 days, where we sit down to deliberate and decide on those applications. Once we decide a matter is admissible, we proceed to prepare for either a judgment or an opinion or a ruling. So, like, for example, next week, Thursday, we are delivering several judgments. We are currently in session. We are delivering some judgments next week, Thursday. I will share with you our link for the judgments. You could follow that up. I'm sure it will be of great interest to you.
Oh, definitely. Justice Chizumila, the information you're sharing with us is just priceless. And when we think, unfortunately, we have some people who think that Africa is a country. Now we're talking about a continent with over 50. Is it 54 or 55? I usually hear the 54, and then sometimes I hear 55, so I don't know which one is which there. But
55.
it's 55. So we do have a
55.
number of countries. But I also noticed on the site there that not every African country is a part of that, which really kind of saddened me. And I'm wondering how come some of our African countries haven't embraced this opportunity to work with an organized with a judicial body like this, so that we have independent either recommendations or judgments, as you said, uh, that would make our countries function a lot better. So I'm so delighted, Justice Chizumila, that you are sharing with us this information. And I agree with Rhoda Mkumbwa, who says, relevant explanation, Judge Chizumila. I've been asking myself what the African court is all about as well. So thank you for helping us to understand that. And we also have Victoria Ngambi, who is listening and following in. And is it Louise or Lois? I'm not too sure, but Lois or Louise Peary. I apologize, Assisi, for butchering your name there, but bear with me. We are delighted you are listening in as well. And so again, this is Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio with your host, Dr. FM, Dr. Francis Mpindu Munangi. And we have a special guest today, Justice Tujilane Chizumila. And she's telling us about what the African Court on Human and People's Rights is all about. And I realize we're not going to be doing justice to this because this is such a big topic, and some of us are hearing this for the first time. But you are very, very eloquent in helping us to understand what is going on. Now, having said that, I am then saying to myself, given the fact that you have other African countries that haven't joined, I don't know if this is one of those areas you would feel comfortable commenting on, or even giving it out to them in terms of, hey, come join us, because this sounds like a very, very powerful judicial structure that helps to bring in independent ideas and judgments and recommendations so that we work together as Africans to make sure that Africa rises as a unit, especially it's connected to the African Union as well. So is there a reason why some of our African states may not be part of this?
That's a very, very good and important question. And that's the question we are also asking
Mm.
ourselves as a court. It is also one of our main challenges as a court. As a court, of course, we do have several challenges, but this being a talk about my life, I would advise, as you rightly said, that it's such a big topic. I would advise we have a special session on the African court itself, what it is, what it does, what are the challenges, what are the advantages. And that's why you've noticed even in my responses, I'm not quoting sections and articles of the charter or the protocol. That will be done on another day. And
Justice
perhaps,
Justice Chizumila,
yes,
I hate to interrupt you, but I want you to know that we are
uh,
going to have you back so that we
oh,
talk
thank you.
about the African Court on Human and People's Rights. But today we just want to get to know
Yes,
you as a person. But you know
yes,
what? Maybe for
yeah.
that one, I would be more than happy to work with you and our chief engineer to maybe even have you invite someone else to be part of that team or just yourself so that we can talk about the African Court on
Mm, mm,
the human
mm,
and people's
mm,
rights because it
mm,
is
mm,
really
mm,
big
mm,
from what I'm hearing from
mm,
you. And we certainly want to
mm,
make sure that we understand that. So today, you're absolutely right. Today, we just want to understand your journey, and you
mm,
do
mm,
have
mm,
quite a number of things that we really want to understand from you as well. And again, to those of you who just joined us, this is your host,
mm,
Dr. FM,
mm.
Dr. Francis Munangi Mpindu, who is your host here on today's Africa, and we are delighted to have Justice Tujilane Rose Chizumila, who is speaking to us from the United Republic of Tanzania, based
Yeah.
in Arusha at the moment. So, Justice Chizumila, thank you so much for being with us. And we also have Lydia Chivinge, who just joined us, and she is listening in from Dubai. And we have Earl Sorrell,
Mm,
I believe he is
mhm,
listening in from the US. So he says, interesting
mm, mm.
information. Has there ever been any cases dealing with any issues regarding rights of those in the diaspora? You know what? That's a very, very important question. And I think
Yeah,
that one we could deal with it when we talk about the other things. But would you like to
absolutely.
comment? Do you want to comment on
Absolutely.
that briefly, or should we leave it for now?
You've,
Because
you've
either way is
actually,
fine.
you've actually given the right response. When we come back to talk about the African court per se, then we'll discuss all those issues. And
Excellent.
if people have got questions, they can submit through me. I can share with the registry and have those ready to be responded to when we will have the next talk. And I'm really praying that you will be able to come to Arusha and visit
Oh,
us, be with us when we are either having a public hearing so that you see and hear for yourself, interview everyone who is available, or even you come when we are delivering judgments. When we deliver judgments, we do deliver about 6, 7, sometimes up to 12, at a go. So it would be really good to have you around. But just to inform all those who are interested that I am so happy to see that interest, because we have been complaining that most Africans are not aware of this court. They don't know anything about this court. So we do disseminations. We go from country to country, but one of the challenges is funding. But despite the funding, I mean, all organs of the African Union are going through similar challenges. So that is one of the things we do when we go on mission, visiting different states on the continents. We talk through their radios, we go on newspapers, we have trainings of the journalists, media people. So yes, we are there. I'm so proud that the court is there for the African, for you who is listening. Thank you,
Oh,
Dr.
thank you
Efrain.
very much. Thank you so much. Ziko Mukwambiri, Justice Chizumila, we are so delighted to have you. We know that you are a very, very busy leader. You are a transformational leader, not just through this work that you're doing from Arusha in Tanzania for the African Court on Human and People's Rights, but also just as a person who has gone through so much in life. And when I hear about this journey from a refugee girl to a judge, it just, I have a sense of great appreciation for people, for people like yourself who are practitioners. Now, you mentioned something that got me thinking, and I'm thinking along the lines of what does it take for us to move away from a colonial approach to doing things in Africa to something that is more and more African and for our own African people. I say this, Justice Chizumila, with a sense of sadness within me, because I am a decoloniality practitioner. Yes, we have learned the English. They brought some good things to us, and they also brought some bad things to us. But here we are, many years later. I'm hearing the word ombudsman, and I'm saying there's no woman in that word. And I hear the word, and by the way, it doesn't really affect me much. But I'm just saying, at what point do we change some of these things so that we are inclusive? One of the things you said that excited me is that there is such an intentional female representation in the African
By
Court
the
on
African
Human
Union.
and People's Rights. This is wonderful. This is wonderful.
Mm.
You know, Justice Chizumila, as an African, you know that in our African culture, women have played such a significant role.
True.
However, we allowed a Western culture where women were regarded as nothing. They could not even vote. They came to Africa. Nothing against them. We love them. The Bible encourages us to love all people, and we love them. We do our best to love everyone. But there are some good things and bad things in every culture, because culture is man made. God gives us life, but we respond to that life based on our own environment. So here's a culture where women were very, very powerful, but we allowed someone to come in and reduce our women to something else. But now we are rising, and this is encouraging. Now, what are some of the challenges you have faced being a woman? And I guess this is part of your story in Malawi when you ended up introducing the law that would make sure that women are protected and say, listen, if my husband dies, nobody has a right to come and take things away from here. I am here as a spouse. Of course, he has died, but they're children. You can't come take everything away. Now, I know that that is changing, but are you seeing this change becoming more and more a reality, or are you still facing some of these?
Thank you so much, Dr. FM. That question really touches my heart because I've also personally gone through it. I've seen so many other women and men, mind you,
Yes.
suffer due to inheritance laws. But first of all, let me just come back to the word ombudsman. It is a Swedish name, Norwegian or Swedish name, and it has no gender connection to it. It means the hand that gives rights, something like that. So it is the hand that brings rights to a person, ombudsman. Okay, so it has no plural, it has no gender.
You see,
But you have a point.
there you are. You are a teacher. Thank you for that clarification. Now I know that,
You are right.
there's some things I need
Thank
not to be
you.
worried about. So thank you, Justice. Appreciate that.
Yes. But I was continuing to say you have a point, because in Malawi, wherever we went, in the villages, in the districts, the communities, when speaking in Chichewa, always called me my mbuzi. Eh? Now, mbuzi is a goat, as you rightly know. Now, to them, hearing the word ombudsman, they'll just hear the mbudzi and call it mbuzi. So I was my mbuzi. What does that tell you? It means the language and the meaning of that word is lost to the general community. So we need to find proper words in our local languages. But coming back to the issue of property grabbing, inheritance issues, I am sad to mention that those issues are still continuing. They might not continue in the face of the law, but they are done back doors, behind the doors. And they are done in such a way that even the family involved, the victim, is so scared, she or he cannot dare go to report the matter to the police. So they are still suffering. A lot of people are still suffering. And that's something that I am really dying to see the change. I have a foundation I've established, the Chizumila Foundation. And one of the aims is to look into these issues at community level, try to share the laws to the people so that they understand what to do, where to go, and instill that hope and courage in them to stop fearing the consequences from their own relatives and the ones who grab property from them. It's not easy, but at least we can start. And I'm praying that we all do that. Thank you, Dr. FM.
Dr. Dr. Chizumila,
I will soon be a doctor.
you
Thank you.
should
I will
be Dr.
soon.
Chizumila soon.
I
I
will
actually,
soon. Thank you for the
actually this.
blessings.
Oh, you're very welcome. Actually, this morning I was talking to my friend, Professor Dr. Emmanuel Mbena. Dr. Emmanuel Mbena ended up in Zimbabwe as ambassador from Tanzania as well, and he's from Dodoma. So I was telling him
Oh,
briefly about yourself, and we are having conversations. So
yes.
you know what? It's a small world, and it's
Yeah.
wonderful to know that there are things that are happening to make our communities better. And when
Mm,
I hear of you wanting to come down to the level of the people and going into the communities to talk about
mm,
laws that make life easier for men and women, but mostly
mm,
women, they seem to be the ones who seem to get, to be put on the rough edges most of the time, and, ruffled when life changes. and they end up in some very, very serious conditions, and it shouldn't be. So it's wonderful to have people like yourself who have a heart for people and wanting to see these changes made. For those of you who just joined us, again, this is your host, Dr. FM, Dr. Francis Munangi Mpindu, on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. And we are talking about a personal journey of Justice Chizumila, who was born, raised for a little while in Malawi, and ended up in Tanzania and back in Malawi. And she has studied in Dar es Salaam and, of course, practiced the law in Malawi. And she has a master's in international law from Germany. And so she speaks German. And so you have quite a command of different languages. And now I understand and I'm aware that you are now very, very fluent in Kiswahili, which is really
Oh,
beautiful.
yes.
And so we are delighted that we do have different people. And of course, Love the Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We go live every Saturday at 11 Eastern Standard Time to over 100 different countries around the world. And we do have Nala Richard, who is listening in from Tanzania as well. So this is really wonderful. So we are, I'm looking at the time and I'm like, oh my goodness, time has flown that fast. Now, Justice Chizumila, as we think about your own journey and the plight of a refugee girl who ends up being a judge. And now, it's not easy. It's not easy to become a judge. It's quite a process. I have some friends who have become judges, including yourself, by the way. You are one of my best friends now. But it's quite a process. Now, what would you say to some of our younger people who are passionate about justice? We have young people who really want to see Africa unite. They want peace. They want justice in their countries. And they're thinking, what can I do? Now, I know becoming a judge may not be the easiest thing to, it may not be the lowest hanging fruit to access. But what are some of the things you would say to some of our young people who would be interested in following the path that has led you to become a judge?
Thank you for that question. The first thing I would say is that one has to be serious by making sure you look at your goals and you stick to your goals. I'll give an example of how I wanted to become a diplomat at the age of 12. The minute I stepped foot outside the UN building in New York, where my father's offices were, I looked up, it's like a half moon, it's shaped like a half moon. And I was like, wow, Dad, what should I do to come and work here like you? He looked down at me and he said, study hard at school. So I tried. There were times I failed, but I kept on pushing until I deliberately took law of diplomacy. And from then, I worked with the Tanzanian government for 10 years as a lawyer. And they sent me to Nairobi to do a legislative drafting course. With that, by the time I went to Malawi, I was now able to get jobs with different UN organizations. Got a job with Save the Children, US, got a job with UNHCR, where I was very proud and happy to give back to UNHCR for what it did when we were refugees in Tanzania. And then I got a job with UNICEF in Zimbabwe. And finally got a job as an ambassador, So with that, then of course now because I'd started law, then I also went into the legal profession. And that's how I've ended up being a judge. But at the same time, as you have heard, I'm still holding on to my passion for social work, which I learned from all those UN and international organizations. So you need to have that, but mostly for the youth of nowadays, what matters is self-respect. Self-respect is very, very crucial. So I'm seeking the youth to respect themselves, mind the language, and also learn to read. Not reading just what do you call it, Instagram and all these, but serious reading. Yes, like we used to do in the old days. You remember, Doctor? And probably that's
Yes.
how, not probably, that's how you've ended up being a doctor. So that's what, no, self-respect is very, very crucial. Be proud of yourself and really hold on to honoring your name. It's very important.
Justice Chizumila, you are such a great teacher. You really are. I mean, you, based on who you are, you command respect. You command a hearing, and for you, you said you're 72, and you don't look 72 at all. So
Thank you.
for you to say this to our young people, it is really, really powerful. We find ourselves in a continent that has over 50% of our population is below 30 years old. So we are destined to make a difference in the world around us. But we have to be careful that we are hanging on to values and core values that make us influential in this world. And you talked about you must be serious, you must have clear goals, you must have self respect. And you talked about the importance of exposure, getting to find out what is out there. But you find that out by reading, serious reading. And it can't be just little text that you find from different sources, but serious reading from reliable sources. And these are powerful, powerful words that you're bringing to our attention, Justice Chizumila. And I'm just so grateful that we have someone like you to have this conversation, because I really want our young people to be proud of who they are and not think that everything foreign, that's what we should grab, but to know that who we are as a people is something that you mentioned that you should be proud of your name. You should be proud of your name. And we have young people now, some of whom, their parents have ended up in the diaspora, and rightly so, because life is out there. But we end up in different places, but we should be proud of who we are. Lydia says it's true, and Jay, Lucini, who is saying this is a conversation of hope and resilience. Thank you for sharing. And you're absolutely right, Jay. You're absolutely right. The information we're hearing and being shared by Justice Chizumila here is something that we are going to treasure for many, many years to come. And I'm so glad that we have the technology to record these so that future generations can hear from a practitioner like yourself, someone who has gone through the difficulties of life. You know, as someone said, life sometimes it throws lemons at us, but you have made lemonade out of it. Earl Sorrell says, Your Honor, Chizumila, thank you for your words of wisdom, especially admonishing us all to read. The strength of change is being able to read with understanding. So thank you. You are a true role model to both male and female and a foundation for our youth. And
Thank
Earl, you
you
are
very
absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
much.
Now,
Thank
I know
you.
Justice Chizumila. I said that we will bring you back, and I'm looking at the time and it's ticking off,
Yes.
and we are
Mm,
already
mm,
5 minutes
mm.
over. I know that our
Oh,
chief engineer he gives us a little more time, but
so,
I just want you to think about your journey, and I know you think about this a lot. By the way, I'm looking forward to getting a copy of your book. I would like
mm,
to have my hands on that, and I will. And thank you for the invitation to actually come to Arusha to
mm,
see some of the things that are happening. So we'll definitely keep that in mind. And the next time we are on Mother Africa continent, we will be able to stop by and see you. And of course, I do have a lot of friends in Tanzania as well. And there's so much to share from your life. And I just feel like we didn't even do justice to who you are. But you being justice, we're glad that you, justice, you're with us, and we will do justice in just saying what are some of the things you would like to live with our youth, our grown ups, our adults, in terms of the journey that you have been on and the awesome responsibility now entrusted to you by African states to make sure that there is justice, to make sure that the commitment to allowing each other to be human is honored. You know, in Africa, we talk about that Ubuntu, you know, we are, I am because you are, and we are because we're connected, intricately connected to each other. And you stand in the highest office on the continent of Africa to stand up for justice and making sure that the rights of people are honored and respected. And I must say this, you know, you have such dignity and you have such strength, and you're sharing this in ways that are so powerful to making sure that others know that respect is very, very important. You talked about that. Our young people need to respect themselves, and you have tremendous respect. I know that. And
mm.
and yet you are, you know, you are soft spoken but very powerful. You are humble, but you are proud in who you are with all the other judges that are part of your team. So talk to us. Talk to us at the end of our podcast. What would you like to leave with us as we think about justice and rights and being together on the continent of Africa and in the diaspora? What are some of those closing comments that you would like to share with us?
Mm. Very, oh, that's a big one. That's a tall order, I think I should say. But let me start by saying that the first thing the youth, the kids of today should know is about the 11 judges that are at the realm of the African Court on Human and People's Rights. It's a wonderful. And when we sit and receive an application, we always think about ourselves, where we have come from, and where these applications are coming from, that they are coming from fellow human beings. And we are there to look at their rights. And at the end of their day, nothing about us matters. What matters is that their rights are well received and also well documented. And we always feel so sad when we receive some of the applications. But at the end of the day, our role is honestly just to look at the rights. Where are the rights? Where were they not followed? What happened? And at the end of the day, then we are able to say, okay, these were the rights that were not followed. These were the rights that need to be followed by the states, and they should be honored, and we give our orders. So at the end of the day, it is the right of the human being that matters to us all as judges. Having said that, my other final word still comes back to the issue of respect. Respect and rights are very interrelated. And when we talk about respect and rights, these start from the home. The way you bring up a child in the home matters. That child, parents, this is a message now to parents, I'm talking as a parent. What matters is how we bring up that child to understand what respect means and why it is so important. So that way they grow up respecting their own rights, other people's rights, and owning their mistakes when they make those mistakes. So that way, when they grow up, they'll be able now to stand up and talk about rights of every single human being. I see that our time is really up. My battery is going low, but I hope you can still see me. I've noticed that the power and the light has gone a bit darker or lower.
Okay, I
But
can
that's
I can
what
still see you.
I say,
Yeah.
really, that it all comes from the background where the child is brought up.
Mm,
Family matters a lot. Family
excellent.
upbringing matters a lot, yes.
Thank you very much, Justice Chizumila. I agree with Rhoda Mkumbwa, who says, Judge Chizumila, you are an inspiration to many. I personally am proud of you. And Lydia from Dubai, Javinge, she just, is just clapping her hands, and so do we. We are just so
Thank
honored
you.
that you have made time to be with us today. And
Thank you.
you are a powerhouse, not just in Arusha, but globally. And we are so grateful that we have people like yourself, practitioners, and of course, you are representing the 11 judges at the African Court on Human and People's Rights. And we are just so delighted. In fact, we have Douglas Tolo, who is from Arusha, who is listening in as well and was following our conversation. So this is really a wonderful
Thank you.
opportunity for us to have somebody like yourself and spreading your um, intellectual wealth with other people so that they get to understand what goes on at the African court. on human and people's rights. And it was such an honor. So, Justice Chizumila, we will have you back. We will definitely
Thank
have you
you.
back. And that is not a threat, it's a promise. So we definitely want to have you back. And to our listeners and viewers, this has been a wonderful, wonderful opportunity on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. And of course, this is your host, Dr. FM, Dr. Francis Munangi Mpindu, your host here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. And thank you for being with us. We go live every Saturday at 11 Eastern Standard Time. We are on Facebook, on YouTube, and LinkedIn, Instagram, and of course on StreamYard. And we are just so delighted. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do that. Please do that. Like our channel so that you can also share that with others as well. So we're just so delighted. Thank you for being with us. Justice Chizumila is a powerful, powerful woman, a judge who is part of the 11 judges who are appointed by African states to be part of the African Court on Human Rights, on Human and People's Rights, stationed in Arusha in Tanzania, the United Republic of Tanzania. And what an opportunity. I think I should end on this note. When I think of Tanzania, when we have people the likes of the late Mzee Kambarage Julius Nyerere, who stood up for unity and wanted Africa to be Africa. And I think it is so symbolic, such a powerful symbol that the African court be stationed in Tanzania. I think there's absolutely a divine reason for that, because Tanzania has played such a big role as far as the liberation of the rest of Africa. And of course, with my namesake, Dr. Francis Nkrumah, who was also part of this African, unity, and now to have 11 judges from different parts of Africa to be part of that, we are so grateful. So thank you, Ziko Mokwambili. Asante sana, Justice. We're so delighted. And so again, to our viewers and our listeners, thank you for joining us today. We wrap it up and we look forward to next week. Again, we'll be having a guest, and next week's guest is someone who is also going to help us to understand some things connected to the African Union, so that we continue to progress as Africans as well. So all our other listeners, thank you so much for being with us. Now, by the way, coming up on the hour at 1 p.m. is the Caribbean Flavor with Mr. Marcus and Miss Gento Blue. You don't want to miss that. And again, this is your host, Dr. FM on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. Thank you for being with us. Keep on keeping on doing the right things.
Thank you, Dr. FM.
You're very welcome.